So we'll start in the NFC East, and Rick will come to you because we're going to talk about the Eagles. Let's start with what you thought was the best pick by any team of your choice. By the Philadelphia Eagles. What was the best pick for you?
It'd have to be the first pick they took, Jalen Carter. And I understand all the issues that we talked about through this whole process the last couple of weeks. You know, the unfortunate incident with the 2 young lives being lost, and blessings to their family. The poor pro day, everything. Then telling everybody, unless you're in the top 10, I'm not coming to visit you. So those were things that were red flags. But when you go to the Philadelphia Eagles and you have already half the Georgia team there, and all the support that they need, they got a very strong locker room, a very strong culture. They'll be able to bring this kid in and have him fit in what they're doing. So I thought it was a great pick, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being Rookie of the Year.
Ooh, that's pretty sharp. Anything that sticks out to you about Jalen Carter and what he needs to do to fit into that locker room, given all that he's gone through over the last few months?
He has to perform. You go out there and play games and play really well. If he's able to do that, then everything else will fall into place, because I know that was one of your concerns, Rick. Does this guy play consistently all throughout the game, all throughout the season? If that's the case, then yeah, it'll work out for him. Would you say a situation like that is where that's where a guy can hit the ground running in terms of?
Oh, yeah, because he's going to a very strong leadership group. And when they signed back Cox and they signed back Brandon Graham, those guys are the ones that set the culture. Those guys are the leader of the football team. So when you fall in line with them, Nakobe Dean, who will end up being a starter this year, and he was aces across the board last year when he came out. So when you have a strong group of leaders, they will teach him what it is to be a pro. And if they teach him what it is to be a pro, watch out. There's no one that's going to be able to block him.
25 Georgia Bulldogs drafted the last 2 years. That almost certainly is a record. I haven't checked, but I feel like it is. Eagles matched a draft record by selecting 5 players from one school in a 2-year span. Obviously, Bulldogs as well. Let's go to the Commanders here, Rick. I love what they did with their first 2 picks. Let's start with Jartavius Martin. He goes by Quan. Got lost in the mix, so to speak, because he was playing on the same field as Devin Witherspoon, but he's a really good football player.
Maybe lost in the mix to you, but not lost in the mix to me. So I know you do, and you do like 50,000 guys.
Who
but
told you?
How can you lose this guy?
Who told you about Quan Martin?
Emory did.
Good one, Rick.
What do you like about him?
Yeah, no, when you watch him, you know, you're watching Witherspoon, you're watching Sidney Brown. All of them are great players. But when you watch Quan Martin, he plays over the slot. He can play free safety. He actually lined up outside and can play corner. Weak safety class, so when he has the opportunity to go in and probably start at free safety, definitely a need. They lost Epps, so he's got an opportunity to go in and start right now at free safety and also help them as a Nick. So they filled 2 huge needs on a very stacked roster.
So you can see here the second-round pick, 47th overall, Jartavius Martin, who goes by Quan. And then your hidden gem, Braden Daniels at Utah. He played outside. Perhaps he has to play inside. Rick, he offers that versatility, right?
Yeah, no, when you watch this kid, he was a left tackle at Utah, and there's no question about his athleticism. But watch how hard he plays. He tries to finish dudes off all the time. And I think it's almost over-aggressive. So once he learns how to settle down and control his emotions, I think he's going to slide inside the guard, and I think he can even play center because he's that type of athlete. But what he does on the field, you can't coach, and that's the effort and energy you play with to finish. And just the guy is filled with grit and toughness.
Yeah, and this feels like a solid draft. Of course, we say that about a lot of these teams at this point in the process. We'll find out in the coming months and years. But, hey, a lot of good things to celebrate for these teams and these teams' fans. Let's move to the Giants. Again, a team that had a really good draft, coming off a great season where they didn't do a whole bunch of free agency last year, and they're still able to make the progress they made with Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll. Rick, best pick for you in your mind for the New York Giants?
My guy that I've been crowing about all season long, John Michael Schmitz, yeah. And his background and what he did at the University of Minnesota has that wrestling background. He's big, he's athletic. He's another guy that plays with a lot of grit and toughness, extremely smart. I had some issues with him a little early when we were down during the season on his ability in pass protection, and if he was athletic enough, there's no question about what he's going to do in the run game. And he can fit in any scheme, zone, outside zone, gap scheme, but when this dude locks onto you, he's going to take you to the ground, and you see it here on a lot of these highlights. So, but what got me so excited about him is when he was in the one-on-one drills down at the Senior Bowl, he did a phenomenal job, and I thought he was one of the top offensive linemen out of that All-Star game.
You came out of that Senior Bowl with a lot of players you liked that ended up on the Giants. I'm going to ask our running back here. Emery about Eric Gray, a guy that you also like, Rick, out of Oklahoma. What gets your attention about Eric Gray, who ended up going on day 3, but feels like he can contribute right away?
It was the fluidity, and when you think about how Brian Daboll runs that offense, he wants to get a lot of backs involved, and when you have the ability to be a quick starter, you don't need volume, you're able to have success right out of the gate, you're going to play a lot in that offense. And I wanted to ask Rick, when you see John Michael Schmidt and you know there's a significant need at center, how tempted are you to take that guy in the first round as opposed to trying to wait and get him in later in the draft?
Yeah, well, not where the Giants were picking, so I knew. But you have to have a feel for where all these guys are going to go in the draft and what teams ahead of you need that. But they were very patient. I thought Joe Shine did an excellent job holding, got him. So then that's all part of the draft, too, and part of a draft when you're a general manager. But Eric Gray was one of the funnest running backs that I watched. Not only is he quick, he's elusive. Maybe the biggest knock on him is his open field speed and the finish, long home runs. He's a great singles, doubles hitter. He's extremely violent when he runs. He's going to run through contact, gets a lot of yards after contact, can catch the ball out of the backfield. Everything you want in a running back. And I think he's going to be a major contributor to the New York Giants. With him and Saquon Barkley in the backfield, that's going to be pretty special.
It's funny to think that we were watching Eric Gray and John Michael Schmidt at the Senior Bowl. It feels like it was like 2 weeks ago. It was back in late January, early February. This process is over draft-wise, but it's just beginning for these young men. Let's move to the Dallas Cowboys. A really special moment when Deuce Vaughn got drafted. His dad is on staff there. Hugs all around. He shed some tears, so that was special. But I want to talk to you, Rick, about the best pick in your mind that the Dallas Cowboys made over this 3-day stretch.
Yeah, they had a lot of solid picks. But Overshown, the linebacker out of Texas, he is a Dan Quinn type player. He was a safety that moved up to linebacker. You see the progress he's made from 21 to this past year. Naturally instinctive for the position, excellent size for the will linebacker position. He can run. He's instinctive to find a ball. He's an excellent in coverage. Biggest knock on him, probably needs to learn how to take on better. But when Dan Quinn gets a hold of these athletes with this type of instinct, he finds homes for them, and he'll use them in a way that will shine on all of his positives and strengths.
A player that doesn't have any trouble taking on people is your hidden gem out of San Jose State, the edge rusher, Vimy Fehoko. And let's be honest.
Junior. He goes by Junior.
Junior Fehoko. Our guy, Pete Prisco, was the first to bring up Fehoko, and he liked this young man a lot. Young man for you.
Yeah, there we go. Number 2255.
And he's now made your hidden gem. So I guess one of the hidden gems is Pete Prisco, and now it's Junior Fehoko.
Yeah, I got to give Pete credit. He says, Rick, you got to watch this guy. So I went and put the tape on him, and this is a compliment. He is like a bull in a china shop. And what I mean by that, he plays with his hair on fire every snap. He's going to give him some edge rush. He can beat you with his quickness. I don't think he's going to athletically test like you want, but the way this guy plays football, how hard he works to get to the ball, his motor never stops. Again, another great pick for Dan Quinn and the Dallas Cowboys.
By the way, their first-round pick, Mozzie Smith out of Michigan. First Cowboys defensive tackle drafted in the first round. You got to know who since? 1991?
Russell, Maryland.
Look at this guy.
You know who that was supposed to be? Rocket Ishmael.
This guy came prepared.